I remember sitting down with a tutor and we're talking about like three-dimensional calculus that I was like trying to learn. And I'm like, buddy, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Three-dimensional.
He's like, now picture in your head, we take that shape out and we spin it around. And I'm like, okay.
Hi, I'm Leah B. Olson, and I'm here for a Bell Bank Champions Take with someone who's well known in Minnesota sports. Whether on the field or behind a microphone, this retired Minnesota Viking is a familiar sideline and K-fan commentator, and such a nice guy. He received a Good Guy Award from the local media. Yes, he's very serious about his sports, and today you'll hear another side of him as well. Meet former NFL linebacker, sportscaster, and all-around good guy, Ben Leber.
Hello.
Hi, Ben.
How's it going?
Good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's kind of fun we haven't had this chance to like sit down
I know.
just chat this way.
You guys really did your research because I kind of forgot. A lot of people don't even know that I won this like Corey Stringer Good Guy Award.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, it's not like really like broadcast out there. I don't even think I've seen it on my Wikipedia. I don't know where you guys do good research so far.
Okay, so that makes me think just working with the Timberwolves, Mike Connolly is always wins a sportsmanship award. He's the Good Guy Award. Was that kind of for you in your career? Was that tag of like being the nice guy and the good guy and the media guy?
You know, I don't think it was like really intentional.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know much about this specific award that the Vikings and the football beat writers were giving out. Going all the way back to college, you know, we had very limited access to media. And I feel like at Kansas State under Bill Snyder, it was a little bit like state-run media. You know? It was like we very quickly got the talking points of like what we can talk about, what we can't talk about. And so I think I was just willing to play ball and I kind of got it.
Understood it.
You know, I understood like this is the messaging. We can't talk too much about the opponents. We're not going to talk too much about game plan. We're not going to give anything away. We don't want to give them any bulletin board material. So I think they found a guy like, hey, you can be bland.
You can do this for
You
us.
can be boring. Why don't you come in here on, I think it was Tuesdays, and talk to the media. And that's really how I started getting in front of the camera and talking. And then, you know, throughout my college and professional career, it's just like kind of evolved. So just there to answer questions.
Absolutely.
You know, no real intention.
Okay, so then when did you kind of start figuring out like this whole football thing was going to be something special?
It's funny because I never really thought about football at a bigger level. I very much had sort of this naive blinders on, and I just, you know, again, it wasn't purposeful, but I just lived in the present of what I was doing. And I think that's in a lot of ways fortunate that I kind of walked into a lot of things blindly without having too much anxiety about it. But I was also fortunate to be, like I said, you know, the third in the family. And my oldest brother was really, really good in football. He was an All-American running back. He had gone through the recruiting process at the Division II level at the time, but nobody Division I really.
Okay.
Iowa came calling, University of Iowa, and they drug him through all the way through the very end of signing day. So the night before signing day, they told him, hey, it's between you and this other kid out of the Quad Cities. We're going to take one running back this year. And so my brother just kind of like, okay, I think I have a good chance here. Well, at the last minute, they said we're going to go with this other kid from the Quad Cities. And that was his only Division I potential offer. And so he was left there hours before signing day with nothing. And so he ended up going and accepting a scholarship to University of South Dakota, my hometown, and had a great career, was an All-American again. But through that, I was like, man, if I want to go play somewhere, and even my parents were like, you got to put yourself out there.
Okay.
So when I was a junior, I was getting a whole bunch of letters and stuff, and I answered one of those letters at Kansas State. I really wanted to go to Colorado.
You did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're coming off a national championship, and they had Ralphie the Buffalo, and they had, the black jerseys, and there was crop top, and their abs are sticking out. I'm like, those are the guys I want to play for. You know, those guys are tough. But, you know, we had limited means financially, so my parents were like, that camp is a little too expensive and a little too far away. What about this Kansas State one? I knew nothing about Kansas State. But I went down there and I put myself out there, went to their camp, And I must have played well enough at the camp that they end up offering a scholarship about 3 weeks later.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Had I not watched my brother go through that process, I probably wouldn't have put myself out there and would have been, considered under-recruited.
Okay. So how quickly, kind of just take us through that process of getting to college and that transition? I'm always curious for athletes is like you're learning a sport at a high level, then you're also trying to get an education at a high level, and then just kind of build out your social life as well.
Well, Leah, let's just say that
Something had to give.
something had to give, and what gave was academics.
I love it.
So yes, I got to Kansas State. I got there early in the summertime. I really wanted to just ingrain myself with the team and get in their strength and conditioning program because their linebacker coach at the time was like, he flat told me, he's like, you're too weak. He's like, I want all my linebackers to bench at least 300 pounds by the time they come in. And I was just getting there.
Okay.
So I was not very strong, not super fast, but I had size. And so I got in the program. I had a great time. It's the first time you're alone,
Yes.
right? You get this freedom. And so I definitely lived it up in the summertime. And then school starts and training camp starts and all that stuff. And that was, it's so hard. It really made me question whether or not I wanted to do it because training camp was so difficult. It was so hot. I felt really out of water, and then once school started, I was kind of, I think, overambitious. I wanted to go into aeronautics, and I thought that my 3.8 in Vermillion, South Dakota would translate into collegiate Division I academics. I remember sitting down with a tutor and we're talking about this 3-dimensional calculus that I was trying to learn. And I'm like, buddy, I have no idea what you're talking about.
3-dimensional.
And I'm like, he's like, no, he had this graph up and he had all these plot points in this shape that's just on a piece of paper. He's like, now picture in your head, we take that shape out and we spin it around. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, now we can do the calculations for all the sides. I'm like, no, I don't.
We can't, actually.
I don't know what I can't conceptualize how to do the calculation. Yes, I can see a box in 3-dimensional shape, but these weren't just boxes, they're weird, just different shapes. And I'm like, I'm so out of my league. And so part of it was I just wasn't smart enough to understand some of this stuff. And so I ended up with a 1.8 GPA.
Oh, wow.
My first semester. And my scholarship was threatened.
Okay.
So I got the very stern warning that, hey, if you don't pull your GPA up above a 2 the second semester, combined GPA, then we're going to pull your scholarship. So then I had to redeclare my major. I'm like, well, maybe aeronautical engineering is not my thing,
Yeah.
So I went into the business college and did really well. End up having to take a whole bunch of summer courses, and really proudly, honestly, I think I finished with a 3.4 at the end of my 4.5 years, and so starting at a 1.8 and changing majors, I'm kind of proud of that. But I did love to party on Thursday and Friday nights. When you're a redshirt freshman and you don't have to travel with the team.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. All of us freshmen we went out pretty hard.
Yeah. Okay, the good old college days.
Yes.
God, you miss them. Okay, so so you're starting to come through college. You're figuring things out, becoming a good student, and then when did you realize you're going to have an opportunity to play in the pros?
Again, same sort of thing. Okay. Eyes very much wide open, ears open, watching the older upperclassmen go through the NFL process, and again, it happens so fast. I remember at the end of our bowl game, we played in Phoenix, Arizona, in Tempe, Arizona for my senior year. We were playing in the bowl game there, and my agents were there, and they walk into my hotel room, and I signed my amateur status away. I became a professional in that room, signing the paperwork to sign with the agency. I jumped on a plane to Houston, me and one of my teammates who also signed with them. He was a safety, ended up being a second-round pick to the Jets, and we trained to get ready for the combine.
Wow.
And then took a little break, went to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, did that, which was the scariest thing ever.
Can't imagine.
That was the most intimidating part of the whole process.
Is that because you're seeing all the best, or
it is the best of the best.
Yeah.
And every drill that you're doing, everything that you do, there's a half circle of GMs and coaches and scouts, just completely dead-faced, no emotion. You have a good play, you have a bad play, and they're just stoic. Like, you don't know what they're thinking.
Right.
They're completely, you can feel them judging you. You can feel them judging the way you walk, the way you interact with people, everything. And so, I definitely had bubble guts that whole week of just being uneasy. And then get through that, go back to Houston, train again for the combine, do the combine, which actually wasn't that bad because it's a lot more of the interviews and stuff like that are really important.
Okay.
And then your pro day, and then it's just wait. And so that whole waiting process, you have no idea if you're going to get drafted, where you're going to get drafted. And thankfully, my name got called about 8 p.m. on a Saturday night.
That's wild. In that process, when you were coming through, was there a space for like, we're having a party, or were you just literally sitting in a room with your family, or was it just by a phone, or?
Yeah, it was small family and friends.
Okay.
My immediate family was there in my apartment. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and I knew I wasn't a first rounder, but the Chicago Bears had told me that they were going to select me at the end of the second round.
Okay.
So as that time got a little closer, I'm just a nervous wreck. Literally sitting on the edge of the sofa, just waiting. I do have a cell phone at that point in time. They have, everybody has your number, and it's just like, it's like there, and you feel like it's like in a glass case protected by laser beams. This is like a piece of art, in Paris. Like, nobody touched this phone. Nobody come near this phone, okay?
Right, exactly.
And so it just sat there, and then everybody, my whole family is playing cards, and they're having a good time. They're having some drinks. They're sort of in that pre-party phase, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I didn't have one drink of alcohol. I didn't do anything. I was very nervous, and so the Chicago Bears passed. They traded that pick back into the third round. On the ticker on the bottom of the screen, it shows like, who's been drafted and who's coming up next.
Okay.
So my phone rings at the start of the third round, and I see on the bottom that Minnesota is coming up. Like, they had like one of the next picks. And my mom and everybody thought, like, this is Minnesota calling. It was actually the GM of the San Diego Chargers, who I don't know why I just wasn't thinking, because they were on the clock, but I wasn't thinking that they were going to be calling me when they're on the clock. Sure. It was the team that was going to be after. So I was like, kind of caught off guard. I'm like, oh, hey, hi. And they're like, you ready to be a San Diego Charger? I'm like, well, yeah, I am. I'm like, great, that's awesome. Here's head coach Marty Schottenheimer. I'm like, oh, hey, coach. And they're like, hey, you ready to be a Charger? I'm like, yeah. And then they like quickly passed the phone around to all these people within like a minute, and everybody's just like looking like, who is it? I'm like, just hold on. Yeah. And then so I put the phone down, and I go, I'm going to San Diego. So my mom was disappointed.
She's thinking Minnesota.
She was thinking Minnesota.
Yes.
She's like, oh yeah, you're gonna be like a few hours away. It's a 5-hour drive, and they were like, oh, you're gonna stay local and all this other stuff.
Right.
And quite honestly, I think a lot of us, even in myself included, I wasn't expecting San Diego, and I didn't know much about it.
Sure.
And so I'm like, ooh, am I going to go to Southern California? I was like, is this going to be my vibe? And it comes out that, yes, it's completely my vibe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet it was your vibe.
Yeah, and it was my vibe. But, early on that particular day, it was like I was nervous about it. But then after that, at about, let's call it 8:30 that night, celebration began. So
good. Okay, we're happy that you found your way to the celebration.
Yeah, it was so much just relief, and
I
then but everything again kind of accelerates. It was a short amount of a celebration. We had a great time that night, nothing too crazy, but I was on a plane that Wednesday.
And you just go from
You just
there.
go.
So now let's talk about the fun part. Is now for the first time, and we'll just say it's the first time you're making money.
Yes.
That you're actually getting a paycheck to do something that you love. Tell us a little bit about, like, did your family talk about finances? Did you have a real sense of like, this is how I'm going to handle money? How did that come to you?
My parents, my dad definitely had a couple conversations with me. My oldest brother had some conversations with me, but almost like very high level of just be smart.
Okay.
this isn't forever. Enjoy yourself, but save money. Live within your means. It's those kind of buzzwords that
Got
I
it.
think we all sort of know. And it was great advice. I mean, it was like something that you do need to hear. I felt like they needed to tell me that just so they could get that off their chest, off their conscience. But I didn't spend a lot of money early on. I was very comfortable and happy just doing the meat and potatoes things of like having this financial freedom to go to an apartment complex in San Diego and write a check for my deposit and just hand it over to them, full amount. And I was like, this is crazy.
Is it easy for you to see how pro athletes can go the wrong way financially just based on, obviously the numbers are so crazy right now, but even when you were coming through, could you kind of see how you could fall into the trap of all of the stuff?
100%.
Yeah.
Especially, and I was very fortunate to have, a nuclear family. My dad worked his tail off to provide for us, as did my mom. And so I was very grateful for all of that. I didn't feel like I had a lot of people pulling on me. They were like, you earn this, you do your thing. They never put pressure on me to like feel like I was obligated to pay them back in any sort of way. And I understand that you want to take care of your loved ones. And so, you want to buy your grandma a new house, or you want to buy your mom a new house or a new car, or you want to make them financially stable. I completely understand. But it is a pitfall, because nobody really teaches us really the breakdown of your paycheck, where it goes, how much cash are you actually getting in your pocket. And it's a harsh reality when you realize that you will only get paid for the season. There's no paycheck in the off season. So how do you budget for 12 months when you're only getting paid for 5 or 6? All of those things you learn, and they do a much better job now with these rookies, but they weren't teaching us that stuff back then.
Did
Not
they
at
ever
all.
sit you guys down? It's just, here's your check and have at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty much it. So figuring out your budget and understanding where money comes and where money goes, I think is something that we need to be teaching all of our young kids, not just professional athletes.
Absolutely. So when you were coming through playing in the NFL, were you always kind of thinking a little bit about the next thing? What do I want to do? Or is it so intense to play at that high level that you really just needed to kind of stay present there?
I had to stay present.
Yep.
My personality, I think, works best when I can hyper-focus. Because I know a lot of guys do things in the off season, like internships and stuff like that. And I was just like, you know what? I worked so hard during the season. I was trying to remain so focused that I want to enjoy my off season. I want to get healthy. I want to get my body right, and just really enjoy. Especially in San Diego, it's like, let's enjoy our time in San Diego a little bit and not be running off and trying to be a business guy or whatever. Which some of that I actually regret a little bit, especially financially. I think that I could have done some things investment-wise that maybe could yield better benefits. But no, I was very much just hyper-focused on being the best player that I could be, limiting distractions, and then just sort of like, I'll worry about my second part of my life when I get there.
I was talking to Larry Fitzgerald about this, and he's trying to help current players right now, like in the middle of their playing days, to start thinking about it. And I think it seems like it's a really special person who's like, I'm going to be a really great player, and then also plot out my my very next step for everything else. Like that's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I would, looking back at my former self, just say, it's okay. Like, it's okay to just focus during the season and give yourself even a couple weeks after the season to just go on vacation, go enjoy whatever. But because of name recognition, because of the status in your community, now is the time where the doors are open for you.
Right.
And I should have taken more of those opportunities to network with people, even if it's like, hey, Leah, let's go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I really am curious, like, what you do. How do you do it? How did you get involved? And almost just kind of like pick people's brains in other industries, just so you know, like, oh yeah, maybe broadcasting is what I want to do, or maybe it's commercial real estate was what I do. Maybe I want to go to financial services. Like, I wish I would have done more of that, because you do have a lot of time on your hands.
Okay. So how old were you when you retired from football?
I was 32.
32.
Yeah.
So that has to be kind of a weird feeling, like the career you've dreamed of and everything that you've put into it, and at the young age of 32,
Yeah.
you are done with it.
Yeah.
That can be a tough transition for a lot of athletes. How did you kind of finesse that period?
Ooh, kind of like arrogantly, I got it. I'm good. I've got some money put away that I don't feel like I have to jump into anything. I knew internally I didn't want to just retire. I actually have some teammates even back then that were like, I can't wait to retire and I'm going to sit on a tractor, or I'm just going to go golf every day, or I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go fishing every day. And I actually was like, ick, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I'm going to be bored after a week. Like, I have to go do something productive. So I knew I was going to do something. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I got to be honest, like, that transition period was very difficult. And it's not just the first 6 months. I mean, I think for me, it took several years, to just figure out who you are, what gives you that juice, what makes you feel productive, what makes you feel accomplished, what makes you feel self-respected. And it took a while,
It's hard because there's nothing that has that adrenaline of sports, of the work and the cycle of the games and the practice and all those things, and then obviously the crowd and the fans and those things that are very extra. There's really nothing else like that.
No.
So really, it is kind of like starting over, right?
100%. And the thing is, and I don't know what it felt like for you, but time management. When we checked in the middle of March in the off-season program in the NFL, you're given a 3-ring binder, and it's essentially the timeline for the whole year. It's like, here for the next few weeks, this is Monday through Thursday, or an optional Friday, we're going to be running and we're going to be lifting. And these are your times, and this is what you do, and this is when you can meet with your coaches, and this is when OTAs start, and this is when minicamp starts, and then, hey, guess what? This is when you have this like few week break before training camp starts, and then when training camp starts, you're there every day, every single day from these hours all the way through the end of the season, whenever that is, and then you get time off again, and then you start over in March.
Okay.
You never have to think about planning your day, ever.
Interesting.
Ever. You don't ever have to set your schedule, because you know what it is.
Set.
It's set for you. But when all of that is gone, and I think that's why a lot of athletes at the Division I level and professional athletes and the military all have a very close connection is when they transition, because understand time management and like, how do I set my purpose in life on a daily basis? When am I going to get up? What am I going to get up for? It's very overwhelming. And I think that is one of the hardest things that all of us have talked about as we're transitioning into a kind of normal life.
Yeah, I believe that. So when did you find the world of media?
So going back to knowing my career was almost over, I knew that emotionally at about, year 7, 8, I was just hoping that I could squeeze out a couple more years. My body was starting to hurt. I was starting to have some chronic things that I was dealing with. And so those are the off-season times that I'm like, okay, I need to look at what the NFL is offering, what the NFLPA is offering. We have a ton of great programs when it comes to internships and secondary education things. And so I reached out to our guy, our player development guy, and was saying, hey, I'm interested in doing the Stanford Entrepreneurship Program. And they're like, great. So I signed up. So 1 year I did that program. It was a crash course of like 4 days at Stanford University. But then the next year I was like, let me do this broadcast boot camp that's at NFL Films in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I did that segment. A lot of the executives from all the major networks were there kind of behind the scenes watching us and grading us and critiquing us. And we did everything. We anchored, we read off the teleprompter, we did analysis, we did in-game analysis, post-game analysis, everything that we would do as broadcasters in sports. And then I got really good feedback from that, and so that kind of encouraged me. They're like, hey, would you come back for year number 2? We have a second level. We put you through a little bit more stuff. We feel like you qualified. A lot of the executives liked you. So then I went back the next year and did that. And then from there, it just, when somebody pats you on the back, you're like, well, maybe this is maybe I can do this.
something
Yeah, I
here.
got something here. Maybe, and I started to look at it, I'm like, well, this would give me flexibility and I wouldn't be working like a true 9 to 5. And, it's an ability to maybe travel a little bit and stuff like that. And so that's really why I went down the track of broadcasting. And it's like everything else. It's not a linear line at all.
Right,
It's,
absolutely.
it's very much up and down.
Was KFan your first gig?
Yeah, KFan was pretty much my first gig,
Okay.
and I'm reluctant to say anything was a gig because, I really took the advice of get reps, even if you don't get paid for it.
Okay.
And so KFan gave me a lot of reps and a lot of time behind the microphone, and I never got paid for it. Same thing with Care 11. Care 11 actually brought me in and said, hey, would you do these like Monday Facebook things on Monday morning to break down the Vikings games, all of which was just not paid, just getting reps, just to see if I like it. Do I like this lifestyle? And I thought I was really good at like the X's and O's, but I don't know if I was like great at like being entertaining.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's
and
another
it's
part.
it's something that I've kind of later developed and realized that like, oh, okay, that's what they mean,
Yourself a little bit. Yeah.
So it's less about like always trying to be right about the play and more just like what was kind of interesting about it and tell it in an interesting way. So I loved it. I still love doing color commentary. I still do a little bit for Westwood One on the radio side when I'm not doing Viking stuff. But yeah, that was a taste of doing that. And honestly, the travel part of it was tough with a young family.
Really
and
tough.
you understand how to prep for these games. It's a lot. When you're watching a lot of film and you're taking a lot of notes and you have player meetings, you have coaches meetings via the phone, and then now we're traveling every Thursday night, Friday morning to some, small college town that's not easy to get to. It's, it's a connection flight. It's, late nights, it's early mornings. And then you do it all over every single week along with covering Vikings games. It was kind of exhausting.
Yeah, it really is. And so then how did you get into the co-hosting? Because that does seem like a really great fit. On Twin Cities Live.
Yes, it has. And thankfully they've been patient with me as well, because that was not something that came very natural to me.
And they're paying you, I'm sure.
And they're paying, yes. Yeah, I'm not doing that for free. I am not doing that for free. So before Steve Patterson was hired, they were in between the previous host. And so I was one of many people that they would bring in just to fill in. I didn't know it at the time, but apparently those were sort of like on-the-job interviews and like auditions. They told me flat out, they're like, yeah, we love having you here as, filling in, but we're just not quite ready yet. And I'm like, that's fine. So 7 years go by. They were in a transition period again, and it just so happened timing-wise that I was doing my own podcast as well. I brought on Elizabeth Reese to be one of the guests. We're just talking, and she, I guess, behind the scenes was like, oh my gosh, I just talked to Ben Leber again, and I think that we should consider him for this role. They had me come in and substitute a couple more times. And again, I didn't realize that I was auditioning.
Sure.
I wasn't thinking that this was, I'm like, this will just be fun. Because I look at every one of these opportunities like it's going to help me in some way. We always pull something from something else. I'm like, ooh, I can maybe add that into my own broadcast when I'm doing football that I never really thought about before. And then she calls me one day and she says, let's go to coffee. I'm like, sure. Again, I'm like, oh, let's go to coffee. Okay. I think I'm just an idiot. I think I'm just like kind of just like a simple caveman in a way. Like I don't think too deeply about certain things. And so again, I don't even know why I didn't like question why she wanted to go to coffee.
Okay.
She's like, let's go get a cup of coffee. I'm like, great. And so we're talking, she's like, what would you think about actually joining the show? And I go, what? Like a co-host with you? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, what would that even look like? I don't even know. So that's what started the conversation.
Wow.
And then it was like going back and forth, talking to my wife for sure, seeing how I was going to fit with our family.
Yeah.
And she's actually the one that was like, I think you should do this. I'm like, really? I'm like, you think that I should be talking food, fashion, fun, and women's beauty products and things that I don't talk about? I'm like, we're not talking sports and football every day. She's like, no, I think this would be good for you. So then, because of that encouragement, I was like, okay, I'll put myself out there and see how this goes.
And what has it been like talking food, fashion, and fun?
It's been awesome. I think one of the best things about the show that we provide is there's so much to learn. There's so much about this city and the state that I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. And then we get viewers saying like, oh my gosh, we didn't even know that was here. We didn't know this part of history. We didn't know that this restaurant was here. We didn't know this. So that's been a really fun part for me, is just learning what a cool place we live in.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And your wife's probably like, any new fun makeups I should know about?
Well, she always wants to know the new restaurants.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I would be with her on that too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, and I'll come home and I'm like, oh, we just had this chef on and he like made this awesome food for us. And she's like, all right, let's go check it out.
That's awesome. So let's transition you into Bell Bank. I'm super curious about how you got connected with Bell and kind of how you made a decision to partner with them, because I'm sure for you there had to be some type of synergy or some reason that it felt right. And so I'm kind of curious of how that came together.
As you can tell, I think a lot of the stories I've told, like there's a timing element to all of this stuff. Okay. So the timing was sort of right. Chris Hockey had been talking about it on the Power Trip show on KFAN, and then coincidentally at the same time, my good friend Brooks Bollinger, he was starting to work for the company, and so he was talking to me on the side about stuff, and he was just kind of singing the praise. He's like, man, he's like, I don't know where you bank, but these guys are great. They're family owned, this, that, and the other, all the benefits. And like, he's like, really, it's just a cool group of people. He's like, I really think that you'd enjoy being with them. And then, cut to, several weeks and a couple months down the road, that's when we started talking about like, hey, why don't we do this like partnership thing and like, let's get to know each other. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then as you know, like once you start meeting everybody around here, you're like, it's like, what a fun group of people this is.
It is like, a fun group.
Yeah. It's like fun group of people, and then by the way, they do amazing
really
banking, and they can really help you out financially. So that's sort of the connection, and it's been great ever since.
And so, what are some of the things you enjoy about being a Bell Bank champion?
I think just being the type of ambassador that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. I think all of us, yourself included, I think that I think we all stand for good values. And it's the same values I think that they started with, years and generations ago. Yeah. So I feel really proud that we can kind of carry on the spirit of how it was originally founded, what they practice on it every day, and we can go out there and just proudly say that we're with Bell Bank. And let's be honest, I mean, banking's not supposed to be sexy,
right?
It's not, and it's highly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you can present it that there's somebody to take care of you with a friendly smile, with enthusiasm, with you and your family at the forefront of just taking care of you and doing what's best for you, I think that's the best feeling, and that's why I love being a part of it.
Yeah, one of the things I always talk about is the Pay It Forward program, and just like how meaningful it is. And when you hear the stories of what people are giving money to, it's just always just a tear shed but it's also just like, as you hope that everyone is like thoughtfully thinking about trying to serve each other. How have you kind of figured out throughout your life, like where you want to give money and philanthropy and the things that are really important to you?
Yeah, the unfortunate story that I share that is kind of branded our family forever is our middle brother Aaron. His firstborn child, Aiden, was born with a brain tumor. Okay. They did not know it at the time. Pretty aggressive form of brain cancer. Did the surgery, did some treatment, but they're like, we can't do all the things here. So they went down to Memphis. And I saw all the great work that they do at St. Jude, from the housing and from all the resources they give the families, and also the care that they give all the patients, including Aiden. He eventually passed away, unfortunately. But because of that, I think our family is always connected to St. Jude. Mm-hmm. And I talked to my brother about it, then and even now, and he still has relationships with the nurses there and some of the doctors there many, many years later. And then he walked away from St. Jude and didn't pay a dime. That's the generosity from everybody around the world to give to them. So I'm like, wow. It's the amount of weight that took off him, because he was still trying to work. He was traveling back and forth to Louisville to work the job that he could, to bring in an income and also be there with his son and his wife. It was really painful and really hard. And so to walk away knowing that you got the best care, the best treatment, and also you're not paying for any of it, it felt really good. And so we'll always continue to support.
Yeah, that does sound like something that will impact you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, and also just as parents, just kind of everyone's worst fear. And if you do have to go through something like that, to be supported, how critical that is.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
My family, we're a fun little circus.
I like that.
So as I mentioned, my wife Abby and I, we met when I was in college. We were both at Kansas State. We have 3 kids. My daughter Ames is 17. She's getting ready for her senior year.
Wow.
And it's exciting but scary.
Yes.
And then we have a 14-year-old boy and an 11-year-old boy. So, and we have 3 dogs and we have 2 cats.
Oh,
and so it truly is a circus around there. Yeah.
I love it. And what do you think just that has taught you about like functioning in the world with little people and animals and all these things you've learned in sports of like how to prepare and prep when it's just you, and then to have all of these things, these people around you.
Maybe, hopefully my kids are understanding, like, you do have to embrace a little bit of chaos. Mm-hmm. Every day is unpredictable. Giving yourself grace, having flexibility, and then just rolling with the punches.
I love it. Yeah, I think I've seen some on your social. Is it you and your daughter or one of your sons might be like doing some singing, or like I feel like the family's getting into some of the.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Okay.
I was doing these like Friday morning drop-offs. We love listening to music on the way to school, and we just started, my youngest is like our ham of the family. Okay. And so he's dancing. I'm like, okay, let's just record this. This will be a fun social thing. And as my 14-year-old is getting older, he's getting teased by his friends in school. So he's like, Dad, I'm not doing these stupid videos anymore because you don't understand how much my friends give me a hard time for it. I'm like, oh, suck it up, Buttercup. Like, it's fine. Like, it's going to be fun. It's just, I'm like, you're just dancing with your dad and your brother. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. So every time I try, he's in the passenger seat, like away from the, my phone that's on the dash. And he's like trying to hide. And, and my youngest is up there like, darn near taking his clothes off because he's just like, woo.
He's so into it.
Yeah, he's so into it. And I'm like, well, this is just weird if it's just a solo act and then me just kind of jamming in the driver's seat. So we stopped doing it. Okay. But I think it's going to come back. I think this is a little bit of a teaser, because if people enjoy it, I think I'm going to bring it back, because my 14-year-old's going off to high school. So he won't even be at the same school as my youngest anymore. So when we're doing this drop off in the morning, we don't need him anyway.
You won't see his back.
Yeah, you won't see his back. You won't see like this little like frizzy hair sticking out the side, or his earlobe or something. So
and maybe when he's like 17, he joins back.
Maybe he joins back, right?
Yes.
Who knows? Maybe he comes full circle. But I think we're going to try to bring them back, the Friday dance parties.
It's always the youngest who's just like, let's just do these things.
I know. Yeah. See, I think again, I was the youngest, so I looked at my 11-year-old. I'm like, I was kind of like that.
I love it.
Yeah, and then eventually we have to grow up and become more serious.
Yes, that part happens. Ben, thank you so much. What a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more and kind of dig in and learn about your life.
My pleasure too.
Yeah, and thank all of you for watching Bell Bank Champions Take.